And next speaker, Samuel van Deth, is from our sponsor Oracle. He works as an EMEA Strategy Marketing Director. He is an experienced web and data business development professional, applying new technology and data in marketing at scale. Samuel's expertise include AI, machine learning, blockchain, decentralized marketing, Web 3.0, and NFT. You can maybe explain what is NFT. There might be someone who doesn't know what is NFT. I don't, of course. I know of, yeah. I'm pleased to invite Samuel to the stage. It's your time to shine.
Thank you very much. Great presentations, just very juicy. I don't think I need to sell anymore, why technology is important. So that's a great thing that we already covered that today. I am going to challenge him because I loved his note on that marketing needs to play a bigger game. But I think it needs to be even bigger than he just told us. So let me go into that. But first, this quote: "People buy from people." That's a quote heard often in B2B sales teams. And I know because I've been part of a lot of different B2B sales teams during my career. But is that still true? I think that's something to discuss. And let's see what we can actually learn from, my clicker is still working. It was explained to me, if it's red, it doesn't work. So you need to press the button. Oh, it's working, right? It's working. So people buy from bots, is that true right now? And what can we learn from B2C there? Because the title is the consumerization of the B2B buyer. So let's go into that. So what do we see in the B2C industry? So for example, the restaurant industry, where you have these nice self-service kiosks now. Well, actually, we see that people tend to often visit those restaurants more often, because it's more convenient, it's more easier, there's a lower barrier actually to order there. But also order values are going up. But that's not B2B, right? B2B is very different, right? It's deep involvement with customers. It's about relationships, of course. But most of you will have seen this metric, right? Only 17% of the B2B sales process is spent with a sales manager. And this is actually declining. So let me ask you a question. So who in this audience actually prefers talking to a sales manager versus a bot? Hands, please. Rather sales manager, right? Yeah. So probably you're sales yourselves. I'm not sure, but it could be. So definitely, I know that a lot of people don't really like to talk to a sales manager for all kinds of reasons, right? So bots play a role, perhaps also in the B2B sales process. So how does that actually work, right? So I put the test out here. So ChatGPT. If you missed that, you're probably lying under a stone or something because everybody's talking about this. So how well does ChatGPT actually sells Oracle Eloqua marketing automation? Let's see that. So I'm not sure if you can read it, but I will guide you through this, right? So I asked it a prompt, right? So for a Finnish company, I'm looking for a marketing automation tool. What should I look for? So it starts to list some options there, right? So HubSpot, Marketo, Pardot, and I was quite lucky to see Eloqua in there, of course, but yeah, yes, they're also selling Eloqua at ChatGPT. But then, if you press it a little bit further, right? So from these options, if you would sell Oracle Eloqua, what should the reasons be? If you ask that. It starts to give, of course, a disclaimer that it's not intended to be selling you anything because it's a nuanced view that they want to get across. But then it's actually quite good in delivering some nice USPs for Oracle Eloqua, like advanced lead management and robust campaign management, advanced analytics, all very true, of course, and integrations with other Oracle products. All right, So, of course, again, a disclaimer, right? But it depends on your situation. Yeah, also very good, of course. So this is pretty good, right? And I would actually challenge a lot of our own sales managers to give the same USPs, because I'm not sure if they're all able to actually give this as nicely as ChatGPT is giving here. But then, right, if you ask it for testimonials, how well does it do, right? Can you tell me about how other customers are actually telling, what are other customers telling you about the usage of Oracle Eloqua? So the nice thing is, it comes up with 3 testimonials, pretty detailed, a name and a company as well. So yeah, I was quite surprised that it actually can do this. So I'm not sure, what you feel about this. The thing I'm still struggling with, I don't know the names of these people, which I find weird, right? So I'm not sure if it's real. That's I need to figure that out. So if you know one of these people, please let me know. I can verify, but it's questionable. All right, so that as an introduction, right? So why am I telling you this? Because in B2C, let's face it, we're already buying a lot of our stuff from machines. We buy our holidays online. We buy our groceries online. The last time I spoke to a shoes salesperson is quite a while ago, I have to say. So there's definitely an impact from the digitalization of the sales process there. So what can we learn from that? So I'm going to start with 4 trends, which I believe are relevant for the B2B industry as well. And then I'm going to give you some practical advice, I hope, on what to think about within marketing as well. All right. Let's dive in, but first, a short introduction from me, a little bit broader. So I came from a marketing-focused background, worked in media at the beginning of my career, started a social media startup, where everything always was to do about branding. Get your brand out there. That was the key thing that I was worried about. Then I went very deep on the whole performance advertising topic. I worked for a performance advertising agency. We did a lot of cost per sale and cost per lead campaigns there. I went deep on marketing automation, very personalized messaging, both with Adobe, where I worked for 5 years, and now with Oracle. Now I'm working in a strategy role within Oracle. Within that role, I've been responsible for rolling out the CDP in our market, but as well working with the sales teams to actually feed them with AI opportunities, so AI-led opportunities coming from our data to guide them in the right direction for sales opportunities, which I can tell you is quite difficult to get that data right as well on that topic. But at the moment, I'm very deep on connected enterprise, so how do you connect marketing better with the rest of the organization, and the topic about Web3 and decentralized marketing. And that's where I'm starting, decentralization. This book, The Network State, written by Balaji, who's the former CTO of Coinbase, is a very interesting book, a little bit provocative as well, I would say. So the network state is about the next form of the way we organize our state. So he's saying that we used to organize states around religion in the past. Now we organize states around nations. But he makes the case that future states might be actually structured around networks, where the geographic location from people is not longer relevant, but actually their moral compass is. And people could connect and work decentralized together within a state across different parts of the globe. But a key fact from his book, which I thought was very interesting, is that he actually makes the case for the fact that the technology right now is decentralizing. And technology, that decentralization leads to decentralized behavior. And decentralized behavior is much more like B2C than B2B, actually. So that's an interesting take. And some proof of that, right, is, well, in the 1950s, we had mass production. Now we have 3D printers. We had mainframe computers. Now we have microprocessors in any device. And we have central banks. Yes, we still do have central banks, but we also have cryptocurrencies. And they actually show that you don't need a nation to have a currency. And within marketing domain, perhaps a little bit more focused on the audience here, is that we have cookies and ID graphs, mostly owned by Facebook, Google, etc. But what we're seeing now is the advent of bots, coming from a company led by Tim Berners-Lee, the founder of World Wide Web, and wallets in Web3. What these technologies actually provide is that you own your data as an individual, and you determine when you share it with whom and how you restrict that. So that's actually the decentralization of profile data. Then the second book, it's called Build. It's written by Tony Fadell, probably one of the most famous B2C product marketing managers out there. So he was in the team that launched the iPod, iPhone, and after Apple, he started his own company called Nest, which introduced the new thermostat in our homes, a connected thermostat, and after that, some other supplies as well, which he sold to Google quite successfully. And a statement here that I thought was relevant for this audience is here that he says, you can, as marketing, you can only serve one master. Either it's a consumer or it's businesses. You can't do both, right? You need to choose. But the impact of choosing B2C is that you might still be able to get to B2B customers. Because what he's saying here in this quote is that if you sell to the individual within companies, right, it might still go to a B2B deal. So if you do B2C marketing and a B2C focus, it might still lead to B2B, but not the other way around. And this is also more or less further built up in this quote. It's coming from the book called The Cold Start Problem by Andrew Chen. He worked for Uber in the beginning of the days to build local networks in Northern America for the Uber team. And he's saying the enterprise is becoming consumerized with software that is adopted by individuals. And he's giving a lot of examples for that. Slack, Dropbox, I would say Google Analytics as well, right? These products were first marketed to individuals, later to teams, and now they're selling enterprise deals. So that shows that as in the B2B market, you need to think about, marketing to the individuals within companies. All right, so last of the books here. So a little bit of a book club it's becoming right now, right? But this is really a Bible for if you're in brand marketing. How Brands Grow from Brian Sharp. There's a lot of scientific background in the laws that he's describing in his book. And one of the laws is about the fact that if you look at a particular category, and you look at the install bases that these companies have, that the install bases actually do not differ substantially in terms of what kind of attributes they have. For example, the age of the different audiences, the industry, etc. And this has been sort of accepted in most of the B2C world by right now. What's interesting that just, I think 2 weeks ago, there was this article on Marketing Week where they did a research on how this is also reflected in the B2B market. They did research in 3 software B2B industries, the business intelligence category, the CRM category, the IS category. They looked at the brands, the competitors active in these categories. They looked at the different attributes of their install base, right? So number of FTE employees, revenue, but also industries. And what they found is actually that there's no big difference between the install bases of these brands. So what that tells us is that if these companies are using specific industry targeting, it is not really working because it's all the same. The only big difference actually is the size of the install base. That's where the big difference is. So that's a very interesting notion. I think I'm going to go into that in my next part of my presentation, which is all about considerations, right? So these are some interesting books, some interesting inputs, right? So what do you do with them as marketeers? And that's where I'm going to talk about connected enterprise and how to play that bigger game that Jussi just mentioned. So the first thing is that the 4 Ps, right? We all learned about the 4 Ps if you start in marketing. But we tend to forget that the 4 Ps actually start with product and price. And Tony, again, the product marketing manager behind a lot of Apple products and the Nest product, he tells us you need to keep the product team accountable from the beginning. So when you start thinking about product releases, marketing needs to be on the table. They need to define what is the USPs, what does the customer actually need? What are the painkillers that we're going to deliver to get to the customer needs there. And then we need to keep the product team accountable for delivering these things, because that is impacting our market. So that's where he's giving two very practical frameworks, right? This matrix of the need and the painkiller, and how to connect that to your different channels. So some practical frameworks from the B2C world, which I think, it makes a lot of sense in B2B as well. Then the last, well, almost the last part, right? So I've been deep into personalization. I think, there's definitely value in there, but I think we overshot on the potential within marketing. We don't need to worry that much about personalization, micro-targeting within marketing. Broad targeting is actually the best in a lot of categories. You need to optimize to share of voice, and the B2B Institute has some very good research on LinkedIn to support that. So please, go in there and take a look on that. But then personalization does play a very important role later in the customer process. Very interesting research from IDC there on the connected enterprise, where they actually show, the issues that the wider organization have to connect, for example, billing or supply chain information to the customer experience. So we're lacking personalization and micro-targeting in that parts of the process. 35% of the supply chain leaders say, well, we have issues there. Perhaps even our biggest issue is the CX part. So if marketing, needs to go broader, right? Go broad or go broke is the statement that's even mentioned there. How do you defend your KPIs? Well, yes, sales, usually went deep on sales management and how that aligns with marketing. Definitely, right? Marketing does impact sales in a good way, both short and long term. But it does more than that. It actually also impacts hiring response rates. So HR data is actually impacted by how well you're doing your marketing. And then one thing that the CFO also is very passionate about, it's your pricing flexibility. Because share of voice marketing has proven to give more flexibility in lowering the price without actually impacting your margin. Again, very interesting research by Mark Ritson there and the B2B Institute on these topics. So connecting marketing to the broader side of the enterprise is important. In the end, I think we need to solve this, right? We have seen right now that we have the erosion of customer experience happening, where we're doing quite a good job in the beginning of the process, but we need to up our game in the personalization and the micro-targeting along the rest of the customer journey. One last note, you asked about NFTs, right? What are NFTs? Non-fungible tokens. It's all about decentralization. This is happening right now in the B2C industry. You don't really see it happening in B2B yet, but I think it will come. So what is it about? It actually is about people buy ownership, the decentralization of value, giving your customers ownership of part of your brand, or perhaps even of your products, giving them the opportunity to commercialize that as well. So it's a deeper way of partnership with your own customers. Nike is doing some front-runner work there, some big revenue already, but you need to take a pinch of salt because there's a lot of revenue in the end for the NFT holders there. And they've started now a new platform where they start to co-innovate with people in a way that they can earn royalties if they build a virtual shoe. And then when Nike starts to produce that shoe, they actually earn something back. All locked on the blockchain, so very transparent as well. Starbucks has their own experience a little bit from a different angle, more on loyalty, so you can actually earn these virtual tokens when you do certain actions with Starbucks. And then Porsche also had a big launch, which was not completely flawless, but in the end they've able to also create more value for their token holders. I think the whole concept of deeper connecting to your customers and actually giving value back in a form that they also provide marketing for you is a very interesting concept, which also will come to B2B. So my wrap up, right, the takeaway. So yes, people buy from bots, but they also buy from people, right? That's very clear, specifically in B2B. If you want to do this in a better way, you need to think about the connected enterprise. That means that marketing needs to be connected in a more deeper way with product, with your buyers, with sales, HR, and finance, the front and the back office, and in the end, the customer. If you've not seen it, right, I would really urge you to check out the LinkedIn research on the B2B Institute and the more recent IDC Connected Enterprise piece. I think it's very interesting. So I hope you learned something from this. So as promised, no technology, no infrastructure slides from me for today. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know.
Thank you. Thank you, Samuel. Really eye-opening talk. And we have time for one question. Who's the lucky one? I'm waiting for the, for the afternoon going a little bit
probably
further.
Come later,
so
right? Yeah.
There will be a lot of questions later. But I have a question for you. You talked about the connected experience throughout the journey and how organizations lose it the further the journey proceeds. What would be your cure to maintain the experience?
Yeah, so I think the key there is, getting your data right? So already was talked about data models. I think it is a key thing. And also make sure that it is connected across your organization, right? So that not just the marketing team is owning their data, the finance team is owning their data, but you have that view and you can actionably use it in your business side. So IT is not owning that, keeping that for themselves, but you as business stakeholders can actually also use that.
Great answer. All right, and thank you once again. And we'll have a little present for you with Luxid and Finnish streets.
Super.
Thank you. Thank you a lot.